Good everyone. This is Claire Whitmer. I am the Northern California Regional Advisor for the California Office of the Small Business Advocate and also head of the Regional Economic Engagement Team. And I am your host for today. We will start in just 1 minute. I'm going to wait for a few more attendees to join, so please stay put. All right, it is 10:01. We are going to go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Claire Whitmer, Northern California Regional Advisor and head of the Regional Economic Engagement Team for the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. I represent GoBiz on the Economic Recovery Support Function, a coalition of partners that collaborate to support long-term recovery of disaster-impacted communities. And welcome to part 3 of the Business Resources for Economic Developers series of webinars, which has been organized under the umbrella of the Economic Recovery Support Function. Today, we will focus on programs and services available from state and federal partners to help you help business owners in your communities recover from disaster and become more resilient, as well as steady state resources at the state level that small business owners need to understand. We have a jam-packed agenda today, so we'll hop to it. But first, I'd like to thank my partners who, in fact, initiated the series of webinars and invited my office to help organize today's webinar. So the entire series was initiated by Melinda Matson, Northern California representative of the EDA, whose logo you see here. She is here on the call today with us today, although not in a presentation capacity. I also want to thank our partners at Cal OES, the Office of Emergency Services, specifically Cameron Remington, who handled all the behind the scenes logistics getting us here today and is also manning the slideshow. So lastly, I want to cover some ground rules. Please stay muted and off camera unless you are a speaker who is giving a presentation. Speakers, if you see me come back on camera, that means your time is up. So please conclude your remarks. Remember that all registrants and speakers will receive a PDF version of the master slide deck, which includes the contact information for all the speakers so that you can follow up individually. We will also be recording today's session and posting it to YouTube. Lastly, if you have questions, and we all love Q&A, feel free to post them to the chat. We are on a tight schedule today, so we will not have time for Q&A for each individual speaker, but time permitting, we will have Q&A at the end. Please also attach your name to your question so that we can provide your contact information to the speaker, and they will follow up separately after the webinar if we are not able to get you a response to your question in this times period. So we are going to get started. I'm starting with my office, Bob Adams, my local engagement specialist for Central California, who's going to tell you about the programs and services available from Cal OSBA. Thank you. Take it away, Bob.
Hey, Claire, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here today. I want to thank everybody in attendance. Again, my name is Bob Adams. I'm the Central Valley Local Engagement Specialist for the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. My contact information is on the screen and will be on the PDF when you receive that in your inbox right after today's event. Next slide. So Cal OSBA, our mission. So this is going to be fast and furious. I got a few slides to get through, and we're going to come through it. So if you're taking notes, don't worry about it too much. You'll have this in hand before long in PDF form. So Cal OSBA mission and objectives: drive economic mobility and wealth building through entrepreneurship, connect small business owners to resources that they need to start, manage, and scale, advance resiliency through disaster preparedness and resiliency initiatives, curate a support network to help entrepreneurs access capital and new markets. Next slide. So we want to focus today on some of the startup, manage, and scaling businesses within the communities that you serve as economic developers, navigating a range of resources to empower your small business to launch in California. Next slide. So here's a list of our partners in the Central Valley, and take a look at those folks and understand what they provide to businesses that are looking to start, manage, and/or scale. Right? They offer opportunities for business plans, startup business plans, accessing financing through loans and grants, entering new markets, strengthen operations and building resiliency, and with over 30 languages available, right? And you'll find all these folks at the link at the bottom of this page right there. And that will take you to a map that will be included to show you the over 100 partners that we have throughout the state of California, but I specifically wanted to highlight some of those on today's presentation for the Central Valley. Next slide, please. So startup resources you're going to find with the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. These next few slides are a great place to send folks if they're looking for information to start their entrepreneurial journey. And that's going to include things like business quick start guides. These are PDFs that are available to download for many industries, and they can get all the information and links they need to contact the people they need to really start that entrepreneurial journey. Research your market and create a business plan. You can know the difference between franchising and buying a business. Choose a business structure and register your business. Choosing a business name. Small business startup financing, all at the link on your screen for those that you're working with in the communities that you represent. Next slide, please. So continuing with our startup resources, you can information to help you select your location, set up your taxes, getting permits and licenses, finding business insurance, and you can create your digital footprint and get Digital California. And that is an initiative to help you get online and take advantage of the digital marketplace, all at the link on your screen. Next slide. Managing your business. Access state resources to help you manage a small business in California. Next slide. So some of the resources you're going to find at our website are going to include things like for compliance, regulation permits and licenses, how to get a patent in California, workforce development, train and manage employees, statewide resources on preparedness and resiliency, selling and closing your business, all at the link to manage your business. Next slide. Scaling your business, that time when it's time to grow, right? Resources to help take your business to the next level. Next slide. So at our website, you're also going to find those resources to scale your business and e-commerce to grow your online presence, funding, grants, incentives and financing, California international trade, relocate or expand your business, procurement and supply chain, and innovation and accelerate California, our iHub program at that link as well. Next slide. So financing, show me the money, right? Jerry Maguire, the entrepreneurial fuel that powers small businesses. Let's talk about the programs that are out there. Funding programs through our office at the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. So here's where you're going to find programs and grant programs through our office. And I do want to make a note that these programs kind of come and go. So instead of putting a lot of these programs up there, I give you the link so that you can see the most current programs that are available to the businesses that you're serving and the communities that you're serving to ensure they qualify for these programs. I do want to make aware that the $100 million in direct relief grants for small agricultural business drought and flood relief program, the online application portal for this program is going to open August 31st. Now, in the first round, 20% of grant funds will be made available for small and socially disadvantaged farmers who are qualified small agricultural businesses. Again, you'll find more on this program here. I encourage you also and to encourage those small businesses to register for our newsletter. And I have a link for that at the end of today's presentation. Next slide, please. So also you'll find financing opportunities. You can view financing opportunities available by industry, type of business, and more. Agriculture, business expansion, facility improvements, green business, clean tech, importing and exporting, startup or small business support, all at the link right there on your page. Next slide. So incentives, yes, incentives by industry, by type, by operation, and tax programs. Next slide. And state loan programs at the link located on your screen. Next slide. And information on finding a lender at financial development corporations, community development and financial institutions, CDFIs, at the link below. Next slide. And federal grant and funding portals available to you and your community at this site as well, at the link at the bottom of the page. Next slide. There's my resource page, and this will be available to all of you, and you can use this to give to your small businesses looking for assistance. As we go to our next slide, I just want to thank you for today and having the opportunity to present to you. Also, I want to mention, if in your travels, if you're aware of any technical assistance programs that are providing services to small business in the communities that you serve, we're always looking to expand our network, and you can get a hold of our office and connect us, and we can follow up with those leads and ensure that we create a robust ecosystem for small businesses throughout the state of California. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Bob. We have one more speaker from my office. Will be Shruti Narayan, who is just hired as our first resiliency training coordinator. She's going to be talking about a new initiative from our office. I do want to make a technical note before Shruti begins, is that you do have control of how the content is presented on your screen by clicking on the view icon. It should be at the top, although it appears differently for some browsers, and it allows you to choose the focus on content selection if you want to see only the slides. So thank you very much, Bob, and moving on to Shruti.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning, everyone. I'm Shruti Narayan, Cal OSBA's Northern California Residency Training Coordinator. Bob just shared the many resources our office offers to help small businesses run smoothly. I'm delighted to share with you an initiative to help businesses become resilient in case of a disaster, or for that matter, any interruption. Let's talk about how we can outsmart disaster and make our businesses more resilient, resulting in minimally affecting our economy, and the steps we could jointly take to support this. Next slide, Cameron. Before we get started, let's talk about what is resiliency. If you look for the meaning of resiliency right now, you'll come across this: the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties. We tend to associate the word with mental strength, character, and emotional strength. While all this is true for individuals, when we talk about our communities and our businesses, we are talking about strategy and preparedness. A resilient business has a strategy and a plan to recover quickly from the inevitable. Next slide, Cameron. Outsmart Disaster is a business continuity training program for businesses, business associations, and economic development teams. This program helps you get through business interruptions. It helps you address questions like evacuation plans, insurance, data records in case of power outages, access to capital, etc. To be honest, nothing is surprising here, but when do we think about it? We tend to think about it after the disaster. We want to encourage businesses to start thinking about this before any interruptions happen, so we are able to get back on our feet as quickly as possible. Next slide, Cameron. The objective of the program, let's talk about that: to help business owners plan ahead and be proactive about reducing disaster risks. Also, to help improve communication about disaster relief. We need to help businesses understand the important role they play in the disaster declaration process. Businesses need to report damages in a timely manner, as this is the data that is, used to determine the level of relief a particular community gets. So without this data, adequate resources may not be allocated to your community. We also have to help ensure a more resilient economy in the face of an economic disruption. Next slide, please. I want to briefly touch here on some of the topics that we will deep dive into when helping a business prepare for disasters. So let's talk about the Business Resiliency Challenge. In this, we talk about prepare and anticipate the unexpected. So this would be assess risks, have a plan, train employees, be proactive. Support key stakeholders, recognize relationships with suppliers, vendors, partners, and train employees on disaster preparedness. Secure and protect. This may include strengthen facilities, safeguard data, store backup copies of vital records off-site, etc. I see I'm already running out of time. So Cameron, let's move on to the next two slides really quickly. This is the resiliency toolkit. You'll get a copy of all this soon in your mailboxes. So I want to go on to the economic resiliency tool, the next slide, Cameron, yeah. I want to talk quickly, the next one slide. Yeah, thank you. Last but not the least, I wanted to talk to you about another great resource, the Economic Development Recovery and Resiliency Playbook, created by Khaled in partnership with the EDA. This playbook is over 100 pages and is designed to help public sector leaders think through issues of economic development and resiliency in a proactive way. You're going to have the link to download this and the resiliency toolkit in your mailbox soon. I want to conclude with my last slide saying thank you so much. Looking at the bigger picture, it's all about resilience after a disruption. To be able to bounce back quickly so the economic impact is minimal is what we should encourage small businesses to do. Thank you for the opportunity to give a brief outline of Outsmart Disaster. I look forward to hearing from many of you soon, so to help your communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti. And I'm going to ask you to put your email and also the link to the Resiliency Playbook into the chat today so they don't have to wait. And Shruti is available to work with chambers and local economic development teams to deliver this training to your communities, either through the form of a webinar or in person. So if you are interested in that opportunity, this is a new program. We are standing it up now. So she will put her email into the chat, and please feel free to follow up with us, and we'll talk to you about the needs of your community and how we can work with you directly to help support. So next up, I want to introduce Manjeet McCarthy. She represents permits and licensing, specifically covering Northern California for the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. So thank you, Manjeet, and take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Claire. Appreciate it. My name is Manjeet McCarthy, and I'm a senior permitting specialist with Office of Permit Assistance. And our staff provides permit assistance, helping with permitting and regulatory assistance, find information about licenses for state, local, and federal regulatory agencies. And it depends on the business type, and activity generally determines what kind of business licenses and what kind of permits is a particular business going to require. Office of Permit Assistance provides complimentary, comprehensive permit and regulatory compliance assistance statewide for businesses of all sizes, small, medium, and large. We serve as the central source of permit guidance, Permits works with state and regional permitting agencies to provide permit identification and regulatory compliance assistance. We act as a neutral third-party facilitator between regulatory agencies and businesses to address permitting delays and assist in getting permits issued at the speed of business. Normally, a project specialist may be assigned to a project to provide assistance to the applicant. It's helpful in understanding the permitting landscape of California, which we all know is complicated, and we are here to simplify that. We schedule pre-application meetings between businesses and regulatory agencies to help streamline the permitting process. This service is confidential. And then we have an online permit assistance tool, CalGold, and this tool can help you identify local, state, and federal permits information. This tool also provides resources, application forms, and contact information for the various agencies that administer and issue these permits. For permits and registration administered by the state of California, it also includes forms and fee finders with direct link to the application fees. Simply enter your city and type of business. If your business is not included in the drop-down menu list, you can select general business information, and it is going to give you the information that any and every business in California probably would have to adhere to be able to successfully open their business. I just want to remind everybody that we do not issue any permits at our office or any licenses. We cannot provide information on a specific license, such as, like the status of an application. Such inquiries are normally directed to the associated agencies that issue these permits, but we are a conduit of information and we provide resources. And if there is any requirement, any need that your permit is stuck at a level that it's not moving forward, then we do mediation and we do contact the regulatory agencies and try to move the permit and put get you the contact that can explain to you what more do you need to do for your application to be approved. And we do provide information about, large businesses, manufacturing businesses. We let them know the timelines for Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, what they need to do to, when you are choosing a piece of land, what should you keep in mind so that the CEQA process is not 2 years long. Some of the local counties and cities do pre-studies of CEQA, and that makes it easier for you to go in those parcels of land and then just do a mini CEQA. So these are more for manufacturing businesses and also for restaurants and coffee shops and things like that, because a lot of times they are going to require a conditional use permit from at the local level. And normally your timelines should depend on meeting with the local regulatory agencies or meeting with the regulatory agencies and figuring out the timelines. And that's where we can be instrumental, especially if you need help with meeting with the state regulatory agencies. We do set up meetings and we do have you get in touch with them. For example, if you are getting a liquor license and you are having a hard time understanding where to go, what to do, I can easily guide you to let you know where you need to go, provide the resources and provide contact information for particular district offices, which would be in your neighborhood. And same is with the Department of Tax and Fee Administration. If you have a question that you cannot find anybody to answer, I can connect you with the direct office in your region so that they provide you the service that you are looking for. Because most of the times what happens is that businesses do not know if they need a resale certificate, they need a seller's permit, who needs it, why do they need it? And these are some of these questions I can answer. But if it's more technical and it is the regulatory agencies' timelines, then I can connect you with the right resources. So we try to provide a service that I know that California has a very tough landscape as far as permitting is concerned, and we're working on streamlining and simplifying it. And how we do that is asking you pertinent questions about what is it that you're looking for, what type of business is it, and then we can guide you in letting you know if you're opening this business, these are the permits that you're going to need. And a lot of times we connect you with the resources. For example, not too long ago, somebody had come to us because they would like to open a car dealership. And it is my job to figure out what kind of permits are you going to require. Then I connected them with somebody at DMV so that they can ask all their questions, because there's a live person who they can talk to, and that becomes very helpful. And it's just understanding the landscape of California permitting makes it easier for you to figure out what kind of business do you want to own and how you are going to proceed. And that's one of the roles that we play. And we have resources of connecting you with Secretary of State, and we provide information about regulations and compliance and permits, licenses, and certifications. So it's a whole gamut. And what we try to do is, if you can move to the last slide where my contact information is, that would be great. You can reach out to me anytime with any questions. It is my honor and privilege to serve you. And we are looking for the our state of California, to have as many large, small, and big businesses as we can. And we are here. And GoBiz has a great team to facilitate all this. And Claire does an outstanding job. And we all work together. And it is so nice to serve you. You have any questions, please reach out. And thank you so much, Claire, for giving me the opportunity to present. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manjeet. And so for our listeners, I just wanted to reinforce that Manjeet and her colleague Lillian Conroe in Southern California are extremely effective allies for all of these questions that she outlined today. So that team is small but mighty. They can be an economic developer's secret weapon. So please to take advantage of the services that Manjeet just described to you. So I'm going to introduce the next speaker, but I want to provide some context. The next two speakers, Cesario Ruiz and Quentin Gaddy, are both examples of the technical assistance or business support partners that Bob Adams mentioned in his presentation. So California Office of the Small Business Advocate, we fund, curate, and oversee that network of business support providers, 102 centers this year across the state of California. There are two types of partners in that network: federally funded centers like the SBDCs, you'll hear from Quentin in a few minutes, and also nonprofits like El Pajaro, which you are about to hear from. So El Pajaro is in the Central Valley. They were impacted by disasters this spring. So Cesario Ruiz is a last-minute substitute for the executive director, Carmen Herrera. So thank you very much for stepping up to the plate, Cesario. I will let you speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Is it working?
Yes,
right.
We can hear you and see you. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity of being here. What a great way to start a warm Tuesday morning. Our organization serves the Tri-County area in the Central Coast, and we serve residents from Santa Cruz, San Benito, and Monterey counties. This is a pretty well-established organization. We established the organization in 1979 with our mission being promoting equal access to economic opportunity through entrepreneurship. And we became a women business center in the past 2 years. So we are very excited to continue seeing the expansion and most importantly, the effect that our services it's having through the community. Some of our programs and some of the most important programs that we actually offer, we have our Plaza Vigil, which is where our main offices are located. This is a small retail space, and it serves also as an incubator program. Our retail spaces are fairly small spaces with the whole idea of getting folks in the door in the commercial setting, and then hopefully they'll reach out maturity to graduate into a bigger building. Through the entire process that anyone who wants to work with us or any of our clients decide to work with us, it's very, very important that we develop those deep relationships with them. And I think that often we spend a lot of times understanding who are we serving, and most importantly, why are we serving them? It's very important to share that El Pájaro CDC has developed a variety of different programs through the years, and we developed these programs very intentionally, initially to serve the monolingual Spanish speaker community, understanding that we are in an area where resources are very limited for our community of immigrants. We want to make sure that we provide those services to them. So from the get-go, any programming that gets developed in the organization, it is done 100% in Spanish. And then if we see the need, we will translate those in English to offer them in English. We also have our program, which is the Kitchen Incubator program. This is actually where I'm sitting right now. And you can see a picture of the open kitchen, which I invite all of you, if you're in the area, feel free to reach out to come and look at the program. This is actually the program that I run. And I honestly can say that every single city through California needs a kitchen incubator where people have the ability to start a food business, because the amount of support and the amount of greatness that we've seen into these businesses is actually very, very impressive. We are celebrating 10 years of our kitchen incubator program this year, so we're very, very excited to say that we're hosting a little bit over 40 different food businesses, and we do have the capacity to host more in there. Recently, the organization started a micro-lending program, and this has been another very successful program that has demonstrated that our community of businesses need these services. We are very excited about the outcomes that this program has shown in the past couple of years, and we look forward to continue growing this program. Our Empresario program, this is a program that it's a 10 to 13 week training where people actually take the class and they finish a full business plan. For the future, we are launching a small batch co-packing plant. This is going to give us the ability to tackle a lot of food waste and help local farmers to develop value-added products. We are very close from launching this program. And we also have a wide range of partnerships through the county where we, just by the networking that we've developed, it opens the doors to a lot of our entrepreneurs that come through our services to access markets. A lot of the times folks find it really complicated to get their initial steps into the market. And thanks to the work that we've done and develop the relationships in the area that we are able to provide access to markets to folks that come through our programs. I'm going to share a little story about how do we prepare for emergencies. As you all know, our community of Pájaro, which is less than a mile away from where the kitchen is and where our main offices are, they got devastated through the inundations in December. And just to give you an example of the way we supported one of our clients who actually had a cottage license, he was able to cook out of his home to do farmers markets. He reached out because he knew that that the services we provided, within a couple of weeks, we already had him producing his bread and selling at the farmers without stopping the production. And you know, my colleague Shruti was sharing about resiliency, and I think that it's very, very important to understand that we understand the meaning of the word, but organizations like ours that are doing the ground leg, that are doing the work directly with clients and needs, we are the ones that are actually seeing that resiliency in a day-to-day, whether it's someone who's about to close their business, whether it's someone who has a great idea and develop, we continue to see that resiliency. And I think that for everybody who works in our organization, that's the huge motivation to continue being part of this team and understand the impact that we're doing in the ecosystem of businesses that we are building. And back to the ecosystem building, I just want to also reiterate that through the years, our executive director has been extremely intentional on developing long-lasting relationships with different entities, you name it, from funders or local cities, government, to make sure that we develop a network of connections that ensure that this organization continues to serve for many years to come. So we are extremely happy to say that we are an organization that it's very well established, but also the growth, even though feels very organically, we always say that we've been extremely intentional into sticking to our mission and serving the folks that we see in a daily basis. Feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. I don't know how much time I have, but I'm pretty much done with what I had to say, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm going to stick around for any questions.
Thank you so much, Cesario. That was great. And please feel free to also put your email address into the chat. Quentin Gaddy is the director of the Shasta Cascade SBDC here in Siskiyou County. I'm actually in his office today. Thank you for sharing your Wi-Fi, Quentin. He, like Cesario, has also been in charge of services during an active disaster event, and he's going to share what that experience is like and how our partners in our business support service network can help work with you to support businesses during and after a disaster event. I'm also going to put the map of the complete network into the chat so that if you're wondering where to find such a service in your own community, start with our map. There are a number of ways of navigating that to find the right partner for you in your community. Take it away, Quentin.
Thanks, Claire, and thanks, Cesario. I thought that was cool because my first job was washing dishes in Monterey County, and I spent most of my culinary career between Monterey and Santa Cruz County with a few different restaurants there. So I know how important that food ecosystem is, not just, for quality of life and for business, but, it's where kids get their jobs and, are able to build their lives. So yeah, as Claire mentioned, I oversee the Shasta Cascade SBDC, which includes that region on the map highlighted in red. The Northern California SBDC network is among the largest in the state of California geographically. However, there are 5 of our networks across the state. So there's going to be one in Central California. There's one in Los Angeles. There's one for Inland Empire and Orange County, and there's one for San Diego and Imperial County. We're a big state here in California. We have a lot of territory to cover, and so we very much imply a divide and conquer approach. But nonetheless, no matter what SBDC you go to in the state of California, whether it's mine up in Shasta Cascade or the San Francisco one or the San Diego one, we all sort of do the same thing, which is we help small businesses and entrepreneurs start their business, grow their business, and expand their business. And what this means is it sort of means being a little bit of a jack of all trades. We are brains for hire. We are problem solvers by trade. And we are a large, diverse group of previous business owners, accountants, CPAs, restaurateurs like myself, marketing people, social media people. We have a large support network in services that we can provide to small businesses at no cost to these small businesses. Thankfully, we are supported by the U.S. Small Business Administration and the California Office of Small Business Advocate. And we are the, the roll up your sleeves type guys. So I always have my sleeves up. We get in the nitty gritty with businesses, whether it be, unpacking their balance sheets, seeing, how their debt to their liquidity is right now. We help them with their cash flow analysis. We help them with scaling, with planning, with forecasting, with getting business loans. But unfortunately, oftentimes when there are disasters, and this is, very much been the case for our region, we are the first in line. We are the ones who are fielding those calls from business owners, some who have lost everything. Last year in August, in just outside the city of Wairika, which is where my office is based, we had the McKinney fire. And the McKinney fire just completely devastated some of the communities along the Klamath River. Luckily, they were able to get, a mechanized army of bulldozers up on the hillside, and were able to cut in defensible space, but we were worried for a minute that we might lose the city. This office that I was in right now was evacuated. Just about the whole city was evacuated, and the police department and the fire department were really, really proactive about that, particularly because what happened in the town of Paradise with the fire that happened back there and how quickly it swept through. And as time goes on, these fires get hotter, they become more sudden, and the way of life that we have up here is you pack a go bag. You never know when you have to pull that out and you have to leave your home and go somewhere. And so we keep the truck packed with water, with blankets, with flashlights, with, mementos from loved ones and family pictures and things like that. And so disaster, like I said, has unfortunately become part of our life and part of our curriculum up here. And so the SBDC can help businesses, in several different veins. On the proactive side, we can help with the preparation, making sure that when businesses are looking at locations, that they understand things like defensible space, what their property requirements might be. If they're looking to get loans, they have to have insurance, and we can help them navigate the insurance market right now, which in California, tends to get tighter and tighter and tighter. But unfortunately, we're also, very active on the back end. I don't mean unfortunately in terms of that, like, I don't, want to do this type of work. It's unfortunate that we have to do this type of work, when businesses lose everything and they've got to, either go for a physical disaster loan or to get an EIDL loan from the SBA. One of the biggest values we're able to provide to those locally is that they have a voice and they have a face that they can tie that voice to, who's local, who's able to like really hear their concerns and advocate, if they run into any roadblocks. It can be really, really frustrating if you're in a position as a business owner where you've lost everything and you're just, a number in a call center waiting in line, and you never know who you're going to get on the other end and whether anything's going to materialize. And navigating that process is scary. No one takes a class in how to, complete a disaster loan. Nobody is really ready to go for that. And one thing that we've, been working with clients on is like, hey, if you are in that high risk area, these are some ways that you can get ready just in case. And it's not always the physical, the clearing out the brush and the trees and stuff like that, but it's like, are your finances in order? Do you have records? Are any of these saved digitally or in the cloud? So heaven forbid, if a fire did rip through and you lost your records, you were able to recreate them. And the SBA is pretty savvy at putting, together some recreated statements. There isn't anything they haven't seen in terms of post-disaster recovery, but everything that a business can do to be prepared is going to make that process smoother. Heaven forbid they should ever have to go down that route. And so while we typically, are thought of as the business loan folks or the marketing folks or, stuff like that, we're very much in tune with, that disaster recovery response too. And it's becoming a much more integral part of our services. And I wish this weren't the case. I wish I didn't have to, spend a month or two, working with clients on navigating, these disaster loans. But it's a reality for us in California. No matter whether you're in my region or you're down in Southern California, we're all afflicted by wildfires and other natural disasters. So just know that if there are anyone in your community who's impacted or any businesses, that they do have these services locally. They can reach out. to find their local SBDC. I have, my territory listed, but we do have a site, californiasbdc.org, where you can specifically go and find your local SBDC, where they're at, who their director is, what their phone number is, and you can find that resource. Not a single county in California is not covered by one. And so if anyone has any questions or wants to reach out on the SBDC, what we do, what we provide, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll stick around for questions afterwards as well.
Thank you so much, Quentin. And I just want to give personal thanks to both of our partners who just spoke, Cesario Ruiz and Quentin Gaddy, for participating today, but also for being the boots on the ground and for the work that you do in your communities every single day. You are our flagship program and the most important part of the services that we fund. So thank you very much. And Quentin spoke about the complexities of applying for disaster financing and small business financing in general. So our next three speakers are going to speak directly to that. We will first hear from Louise Porter. She is the Public Information Officer in the Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience for Field Operations Center West. From the SBA, she will talk about SBA disaster relief, and then we will also hear from two representatives of state financing for small business and including disaster recovery financing. So Louise, please take it away.
Thank you so much. Well, I will ask the question. I'm pretty sure everyone can hear me, or else they will definitely let me know. Next slide, please. All right, so during declared disasters, the U.S. Small Business Administration provides low interest rate loans for homeowners and renters, as well as businesses of all sizes and most private nonprofits. There are several types of declarations. The most common is presidential, which includes FEMA, and there's also an agency declaration where the declaration is under the authority of the U.S. Small Business Administration. So if you ever hear that there is a declaration in your area, we do encourage people to apply. Businesses are eligible for physical damages, businesses are eligible for loans to repair or replace damages to their property that's owned by the business. If that's real estate or inventory, machinery, equipment, things like that, and that they're eligible for up to $2 million. Now, there's also economic injury loans, which are working capital loans. And working capital loans are to help small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, small businesses engaged in aquaculture, and most private nonprofits of all sizes meet their ordinary and necessary financial obligations that cannot be met as a direct result of the disaster. And these loans are intended to help the business throughout the recovery period. Now, a lot of times people want to know how much they are actually eligible for and how much they could be received through the loan process. But in order to find that out, you have to apply. Next slide, please. All right, the very first step is to register with FEMA. Now, it is highly recommended to register with FEMA if you have the opportunity to do that. If it's a presidential declaration, if it's an agency declaration, that opportunity won't be there. And also, if it's economic injury and you're in a contiguous county. So for presidential declarations, there are primary counties as well as contiguous counties. The primary counties are eligible for physical damage as well as economic injury, and then those contiguous counties are eligible for economic injury because the SBA knows that that economic injury can go further than just in that county. A lot of times counties around the primary counties are also doing businesses and are also economically impacted. So that eligibility goes for economic injury extends to the contiguous county, any county that touches a primary county. Now, in an agency declaration, which is no FEMA is involved, and it's just under the authority of the U.S. Small Business Administration, the primary as well as the contiguous counties are eligible for both physical and economic injury. But the very first step is to apply. Next step, or next slide, please. All right, so once you start the application process out, really it is a loan, so they do look at credit history and they also do look at repayment ability. Next slide, please. The goal is also to make sure that people can get the funds as quickly as possible. So the goal is to get the decision out to people within 2 to 3 weeks. Also, once the loan is closed, we can help you with the closing process as well as the disbursement. The first amount is up to $25,000 and is not collateralized. So sometimes that feels important to people. Next slide, please. All right, here is the portal to go into and to put the application in. You know, you can call our 800 number and they can mail a physical paper application to you, which you can then fill out and return back in. That is not recommended. It is recommended to go in and put the application in electronically. One of the biggest reasons is it gets there faster, and also that there isn't any transcription errors, because if they're trying to transcribe your writing, it might be more difficult. So we definitely encourage people to put this in and get the process started. If you have any questions, you can call our 800 number. That's 1-800-659-2955, and they can help you with any of the questions that you have. Next slide, please. And they can't do the application for you, but they can answer some questions as you go through it. So we really encourage people to get the application in if they are in a, if they've been affected by a disaster. And once you have the terms, then you can make the decision as to whether or not you are interested in pursuing the loan. So what I'm really trying to say is put the application in if you have any damages. They give you time to review the terms and decide if that will work for you. And there's no prepayment penalty, and you can always pay it back off to get the application in and keep their options open. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. That is a complex process and that happens to people during a stressful time, and the SBA is on site in the wake of a disaster to help people through that process, as well as the SBDCs that Quentin mentioned earlier.
Yes, and actually one more thing, Claire, on that note, thank you so much for mentioning that. We encourage people to work with the SBDCs if they have an opportunity to do that, or if they have any questions, or if they need any assistance at all. They are one of our best partners, and we really encourage people to work with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. So we are a little bit of ahead of time, so we will have time, I believe, to do Q&A at the end of the webinar. We are still not going to take a break, however, so I do want to remind people again that you will get the complete master deck, as well as a link to our YouTube recording in case you need to take a pause and you miss any portion of this. So the next two speakers are going to talk about small business financing opportunities from the state. Next up is Megan Hodap, who is the Small Business Finance Center Manager for iBank, also part of GoBiz. And she and the next speaker, Allison French-Tubo, and our office all work very closely together to make sure that this financing is available to the communities that need it the most. So she's going to explain those relationships and the process next. Thank you very much, Megan. Go ahead.
Thank you, Claire. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Hodap. As Claire said, I am the manager of the Small Business Finance Center at iBank. And I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about iBank and the programs that we have to offer. Was a comment to me. Next slide, please. Okay, the California Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank, or iBank, was created in 1994. iBank has broad statutory authority to issue tax-exempt and taxable revenue bonds, provide loans to state and local governments and nonprofits for public infrastructure and economic development projects, and loan guarantees to help small businesses. Next. The Small Business Loan Guarantee Program received seed money in 1968 to help reduce unemployment by supporting entrepreneurship and small businesses. The program has had a few different homes over the years, but the Small Business Financial Assistance Act of 2013 placed the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program under iBank, renaming it the Small Business Finance Center to more accurately represent its many functions. The Small Business Finance Center provides credit enhancements in the form of loan guarantees, both traditional loan guarantees and disaster recovery loan guarantees, direct loans to farmers, direct loans to low-wealth entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs located in low-wealth communities, and technical assistance. Next, please. Hey. Sorry, my dog is scratching his bed in the background. I hope that's not distracting. Okay, what is a loan guarantee? iBank leverages loan guarantees against a trust fund to help provide a backstop for lenders in the event that a borrower defaults on a loan. In any of our guarantee programs, if the borrower defaults on the loan, the lender must liquidate available collateral, and then they may file a claim for the guaranteed percentage of the remaining balance of the loan. Historically, the default rate of the program is under 1%. Next slide, please. The Small Business Loan Guarantee Program incentivizes lenders to make loans to small businesses by offering guarantees up to 80% of eligible loan amounts with a $5 million maximum guarantee amount. The program can support loans up to $20 million. The maximum guarantee term is 7 years, and these loans can be used for a variety of purposes, including startup costs, construction, inventory, working capital, and more. Next slide, please. The Disaster Relief Loan Guarantee Program was created to help businesses recover from a declared disaster. The loan guarantees provided by the Disaster Relief Loan Guarantee Program help mitigate barriers to capital for small businesses that have suffered a loss, either physical or economic, due to a disaster. The maximum disaster loan amount is $1.25 million, and they can be guaranteed up to 95% of the loan with a $1 million maximum. The guarantee percentage is determined by the interest rate charged on the loan, and the maximum guarantee term for these is also 7 years. Next slide, please. The Federal American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 included a $10 billion reauthorization of the Federal State Small Business Credit Initiative, or SSBCI, which was originally created in 2010 to strengthen state programs that support financing of small businesses. California will receive almost $1.2 billion split between two different departments, iBank and the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, who Allison is going to speak for them after I'm finished. The funding will come in 3 tranches over the course of the program. We received our first tranche of funds in the fall of 2022. California has 3 existing programs: the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program, the California Capital Access Program, and the Collateral Support Program. iBank also developed a venture capital program for the second round of SSBCI, and its initial launch was in December. The Small Business Loan Guarantee Program itself will receive approximately $390 million of the total allocation to California over the course of the program. Next slide, please. The Small Business Finance Center programs are facilitated by 7 financial development corporations, or FDCs. The FDCs were created in the California Corporations Code to help the Small Business Finance Center administer its programs throughout the state. Each FDC is a nonprofit corporation with general responsibilities for marketing and administering Small Business Finance Center programs. As mission-based organizations, the FDCs support small businesses and stimulate economic growth in underserved communities. While each FDC is unique as a group, they utilize a combination of federal, state, local, and private resources and provide non-conventional community development financing in underserved communities and sectors of small business. Next slide, please. To participate in the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program and maintain a lender-guarantor relationship with the FDCs, a lender must first certify it's in possession of sufficient commercial lending experience, financial and managerial capacity, and operational skills. A lender can apply for enrollment into the SBLGP by completing a lender certification to participate and submitting through the FDC of their choice. iBank will review and evaluate the lender according to our SBFC procedures. Federal or state chartered banks and credit unions must have a minimum Bauer rating of 3 stars. Lenders are also required to submit the lender certification to participate each fiscal year. Next slide, please. And once a lender becomes a participating lender in the program, the process for SBLGP enrollment is a 3-step process. The lender creates a credit memo and submits that to their partner FDC. The FDC also creates their own credit memo on the subject loan. The FDC then submits both credit memos to the Small Business Finance Center to get conditional approval. The FDC must get approval by their board of directors and their loan committee for each loan. The lender then has permission to make the loan to the borrower. After the loan is made, the FDC will collect specific documentation such as the prom note, disbursement, guarantee documents, etc., and then we'll submit them to the Finance Center for final approval. The SBFC provides final approval, and then the guarantee is in place. And like I mentioned previously, if the borrower defaults on the loan, the lender must then liquidate collateral and can file a claim with the Finance Center to be repaid out the guaranteed amount on that loan. Next slide, please. And that is the end of my presentation. So I will turn it over to Allison now, or Claire, and then Allison.
Thank you so much, Megan. Before I turn it over to Allison, I did want to make a point about disaster declarations that you mentioned in referral to the disaster financing from the state. Louise also mentioned presidential declarations. There are also governor's declarations, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but that the iBank requirement is a governor's declaration. Is that right, Megan?
Sorry, I had muted myself already. It is not, it is, there's a variety of different, it can either be a presidential, hold on, let me pull up the exact wording.
I'm sorry to spring this question on you, but it is one of the fundamental questions. There is, and it is a confusing process between all the different forms of declarations, presidential declarations, governor's declarations, SBA declarations, FEMA declarations.
I want to make sure that I am. Okay, I found it. It's an area within a disaster area is an area within California affected by a state of emergency and declared a disaster by either the President of the United States, the Administrator of the United States Small Business Administration, or the United States Secretary of Agriculture, or declared to be in a state of emergency by the Governor of the state of California. So there are actually 4 different ways that it can be declared disaster: the President, SBA, the Secretary of Agriculture, or the Governor.
Thank you so much. And I do want to remind the listeners that there is an active state of emergency in 53 of 58 counties in California, all related to the winter storms currently. So I'm going to pass it on to Allison, who is the other side of the financing equation from the Treasurer's Office, and she is, her exact title is Outreach and Legislation Manager. So Allison, please take it away.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be with you here today. Actually, we can go back to our slide, the first slide real quick, because I will address, we normally are just called CPCSA, but if you see our whole name, California Pollution Control Financing Authority, that might be a little confusing. The trick is pay attention to the financing authority piece. That's what determines what we're able to do. Pollution control is important, but it is our name, it's a heritage from the first type of projects that we did. And so we administer programs that incentivize capital investment, that's putting money in to specific economic activities based on various state and federal policy goals. So that's what we were designed to do, and that's what we continue to do. Pollution control was just the first type that we did. So moving forward on the slides, thank you. So we have the California Capital Access Programs, otherwise known as CalCAP. I should say that Capital Access Program has a really specific meaning under SSBCI that Megan was referring to, but it is also, CalCAP is like our brand name for all of our programs that fall under its umbrella. So we benefit small businesses, or our programs benefit small businesses by incentivizing financial institutions, the lenders, to make loans to small businesses. The incentive we give them, it's not like we pay them a premium for every loan they make or anything like that, but we give them tools to help manage risk of lending to small businesses. And This is not to say that small businesses are not as good at being businesses as large business. And I'll also mention small business under these programs is either up to 500 or 750 employees. So considering that something like 70% of California small businesses are considered very small businesses with 10 or fewer employees, it's a quite wide range. But it's that because they're smaller amounts for a financial institution, it would be easier for them to make one $50 million loan than to make 50 $1 million loans. And also that means in some ways that the risk of making a bunch of smaller loans to smaller businesses is more spread out. But also, whether you consider it perceived or real, there is a risk that a small business won't have as deep of a bench if they run into a disaster like what we're talking about today. So those credit enhancement tools are what the CalCap programs offer. One is called Loan Loss Reserve, and the other is called Collateral Support, sometimes referred to as Cash Pledge. Next slide, please. So CalCap, we don't have a separate program for disaster assistance, but it's built into all of our programs all the time. So when we're providing this incentive to the lenders for the loans they make to small business borrowers, we always have this criteria called severely affected community. And that is an area that is designated by our executive director as severely affected. And that includes areas designated as an emergency or disaster area by the governor. It really includes, I think, just about every type of disaster designation. It's actually the lender's job to fill out the forms to say this is the disaster that they're being impacted by. So it's typically by the governor. And so, as Claire said, you know, like 53 out of 58 communities currently have that. So that, to be frank, that doesn't change what the lender is going to give the borrower, and they're still going to be basing the loan amount on what the business case is, basically, but it's going to backstop the lender more. So if they're like, wow, we don't know what this is going to look like in this community as they recover, they're getting a little boost in the backup that's available to them. For the next slide, please. So the different CalCap programs, Megan was talking about SSBCI, and these are the two that are part of SSBCI, State Small Business Credit Initiative. So there's the Cash Pledge Program, the CalCap Collateral Support Program. It's 1 to 750 employees. It currently enrolls loans from 50,000 up to 20 million. There is a plan to reduce that floor amount down to 25,000. Announcement when we have gone through all the rulemaking process that's necessary for us to make a change like that. And that is eligible. Just about every type of small business in California is eligible for that. We do have to exclude, though, cannabis businesses, businesses that have more than half of their receipts from alcohol sales, you know, those escort services. So those type of businesses can't be included, but just about everything else can. And then Loan Loss Reserve, same types of businesses, 1 to 500 employees. It is for the smaller loans up to $5 million that can be enrolled in it, and it doesn't have a floor. So it's lenders can enroll whatever size of loan they are willing to make. We have some lenders that regularly enroll, you know, loans of $5,000 to $10,000. So it does really serve the microloan area of business needs. Next. And then we do have CalCap programs that are for really specific loan purposes. So there's one called CalCap ADA, and that's for accessibility improvements at businesses that have 1 to 30 full-time equivalent employees. There's also a cap on their amount of income per year, but the basic rubric would be the 1 to 30 employees. And then we also have a CalCap program for seismic safety. And so that's for seismic safety upgrades to a small business or to residential real estate. And those two also, if those loans are being made when there's a disaster declaration for that area, they are eligible to receive that severely affected community boost as well. Next, please. So how do small businesses access CalCap? Well, this is kind of confusing. It's a lot of steps, but for one, you're going to get this all in the slide deck. And for two, really, small businesses access it through technical service providers like those in the Small Business Center network that CalOSPA, as they said, they create and help fund. So small businesses are going to access CalCap by finding out from someone like you that California has these credit enhancement programs. They're going to find out, hopefully they already are linked with you for business services. They're going to get ready to apply for a loan and use the loan ready documents and knowledge to apply to a lender. The lender does the work of underwriting the loan and determining which program to enroll it in. And then from there, that's when we get involved, when the lender is ready to apply. These are the brochures. Yeah, that's great. We can go to the next one. These are the brochures for the two most commonly used programs, the CalCap Collateral Support. And this one, again, this is the one up to 750 employees, loans between 50,000 and 20 million. So you'll get this in the slide deck, and then you'll also see it has a link always to the most up-to-date version of the brochure. And then next page. And then CalCap for small business. And again, this is the one up to 500 employees, loan amount up to $5 million. Again, these are both part of SSBCI, and how Megan was talking about, like, California applied for SSBCI with programs that already exist. These were already existing programs that have been proven to help small businesses, but they got a big boost from the SSBCI funds. CalCap for small business, we were able to use those funds. We're able to use those funds to match more of each loan. That's a bigger boost to the backstop that's there for the lender. And then for collateral support, we are still in the process of designing what more it can do with the SSBCI funds. Next slide. And then if you have questions, please go ahead and send them to CPCFA Outreach. That's a lot of letters, but it doesn't have hyphens like my name does. And myself and my great partner, Erin Lorio, can often answer those questions directly. And if we can't, we will go to our experts within our agency to get you the answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Allison. And I do want to layer on one additional point about SSBCI, which was mentioned by both Megan and Allison, is that there is new funding available from the U.S. Treasury for technical assistance support, business support, to go with these finance programs that Allison and Megan both mentioned. Now, the application process for that was handled differently at the and separately from at the federal level. So my office, the California Office of the Small Business Advocate, has applied for those technical assistance funds on behalf of the state of California. And that approval process is still in progress, but we will be expanding our services to help businesses become loan and investment ready so that they can take advantage of these great financing programs that are available from these two agencies that you just heard from. So thank you very much, Allison, and we will move on to our next set of speakers. And the next three speakers are we'll talk about services and processes that businesses need to know about in order to be what I call normalized, meaning that they are certified and functioning businesses so that they can take advantage of all of the other state and federal services. So we are going to hear first from Lance Christensen, who is the Information Officer for the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. And again, all three of these next speakers are going to talk about foundational skills for small business owners to be able to operate successfully in the state of California. Take it away, Lance.
Thank you, Claire. And yes, Lance Christensen, I'm an information officer actually out of Down in Southern California, the Riverside office, but we're talking about statewide relief and such anyway. So we're all one big state, right? So yes, CDTFA, we're the sales tax people. California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. We administer over 25 different taxes and fees, and we also provide relief in the face of a disaster. Go ahead. So the way we are determining when we go into that mode is when we have again, a proclamation by the governor, and it's based on county emergency proclamations, and that might be for a flood or a fire, other natural disasters. Of course, we had winter storms, earthquakes. We've always gone into action when that comes around. And basically, business owners at that time, they can request extensions to file their returns with us. They can request relief from penalties or interest if that's accruing. They can even request putting off paying us their sales tax. Maybe they can use that for the next 3 months since they're out of business, right? Another thing to keep in mind, so it takes your county being declared a disaster area, but maybe you're not in that county. That doesn't necessarily mean that this can't still help you out, though, because maybe your business is in one county, but you keep your books and records over in the county that was affected. Then you can get the relief. Same thing goes, maybe half of your staff lives over in the county that is affected by the disaster. Then you're affected and your business is affected as well. Next slide, please. So the easiest way to get relief from us is through our customer service center, which is our phone lines. You can do all the basic things. Of course, you can use this anytime, but you can also use it during a disaster. Get your account number for your seller's permit. Maybe you have to change your address, whether it's permanently or temporarily because of the disaster. Close your account, heaven forbid, but you can always open it back up again. Maybe later on you need to open it up after you've been closed because of the results of the disaster in your area. Maybe you need to add a new location. You're going to temporarily be selling from another location. You can do that through the customer service center. Just get a copy of your seller's permit. Even recover some lost, destroyed books and records. If you think about it, so you file a return with us regularly, we have those files. Maybe those are helpful to you if yours got destroyed. Same thing goes, maybe you were audited within the past few years. Well, that auditor had to collect various of your records to do the audit. We still have them, so you can request those and get those back from us. So those are all available through the customer service center. You can also get all of that just by going into your local office. Next slide, please. So this is our customer service center number, 800-400-7115. Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5. You can call them with just about any question about your account, a general tax question, just to check on your status, any of those things. You can also visit our offices, again, to take advantage of these. And you can actually log into your own account and do a lot of the things that we've already talked about. Yeah, we've basically made it, as long as you have complete access to your account, which simply means you have a username and password, you can get in and do most of these things without assistance from CDTFA personnel. Next slide. So this is our website, cdtfa.ca.gov. And when you go to log in, it'll take you to this page, and this is where you would usually put your username and password. If you look at that little alert bar there across the top, it actually says State of Emergency Tax Relief page. And yes, we always have that. So you can click on that, next slide, at any time, and it will actually tell you, it'll take you to this page, which is always up and running. Our State of Emergency Tax Relief page. So here you can get a link to show what counties are currently affected by a disaster. And as you go down the page, it tells you how to do things like get an extension for your filing or request relief from interest and penalties, that sort of thing. So that emergency relief page, tax relief page, is always available to you. You can always so get it just by putting that into the search engine. Next slide. So this is, as I said, most people can actually, who have a seller's permit, can go into their own account and do this unassisted. We sort of were switching to being self-sufficient before COVID, and it is still there. So this is basically someone looking at their seller's permit count. We, of course, have redacted the person's name, etc. But if you look over to the right where the arrow is, it says, I want to request a filing extension. You can do that yourself just by going into your account. Next slide. Up above, there is also the ability to request a payment plan. Maybe you're behind in your tax payments and you need to do a payment plan. You can get that started on your own through your own account. Next slide. Also through the I want to, you'll see this more. And when you click on the more, next slide, you'll see it'll bring you to this page and you're selecting the type of relief request you'd like. And the one we have noted here, relief from penalty and interest due to a disaster, pretty much spelled out for you. So you're just doing this within your own account. You click it, hit next slide. And here you are, you're going to submit a relief request, and whether it's penalty or interest, whatever it is. Okay, so just want you to know that your businesses in your community can do a lot of this within their own account if they need to. All right, thanks. Go ahead next. Now, if you are in collections, in other words, you have had an audit, now you're owing money, there's still a chance of tax relief available to you in the case of a disaster. The one difference is you'll need to contact your local office. Of course, we have offices, the CDTFA, up and down the state, and you can find those. This is the little cutout in the middle of your slide right here, cdtfa.ca.gov. This is the bottom of our homepage. Go ahead and click the next slide there. And you can see right there, it says office location. So when you click on that on the very front page of our website, it'll show every location. And that's who you'd want to contact. It'll give a number and an address and just contact your local office, right? Next slide. Heaven forbid, the disaster's so bad you have to close your account. Well, first of all, you can actually do that again within your own account without our assistance. You'll just look under your account maintenance link and you'll be able to close the location. Maybe, hopefully, it's only temporary. Another way you can do it is through mail. You can fill out our form CDTFA 65, which you can get on our website. Or if you have other than a seller's permit, like a California tire fee account or one of our other type accounts, hazardous waste, then you can fill out our CDTFA 345. You can find all those on our website. Next slide. Here is the slide, the CDTFA form 65. As you can see, it's a one-pager. You fill in the blanks and you can mail it in to the customer service center. So if that's more convenient, you can do that. Next slide. You can also do that with form 345 SP. Again, a one-pager. You fill it out online, print it, and mail it into the customer service center. So that's another option for you in that case. Next slide. Other things you want to make sure that you tell us about if you are infected by disaster, or any time for that matter, is if you have an ownership change, because this can affect your liability for future taxes. Say you're in a partnership, you have to drop out of that partnership. Make sure you tell us right away, because if your existing partner continues on with business, gets into a tax liability, if your name's still on that seller's permit, you can still be collected from. So all you have to do, tell us you're no longer part of that ownership. Or if you're just changing from a sole proprietor to an LLC or whatever, we'll probably close your seller's permit down, open a new one right back up. You'll be good to go. You won't miss a day's business. Also, you want to make sure you always advise us if you have a change in business, mailing, email address, whether it's because of a disaster or no. Because, of course, you don't want to get letters or emails from us and then be ignoring them because they're not making it through, because that's how penalties and interest start to accrue. So you don't want to have that happen. Right, next. Finally, there's the taxpayer's rights advocate. You've had previous dealings with us, and maybe you've been unable to resolve any tax issues through normal channels with the CDTFA, still haven't hit a brick wall. There's the taxpayer's rights advocate. There's the number 888-324-2798, a completely different division, and they will sort of be your go-between, and they'll see if they can't get things smoothed out on your behalf. Next slide. Here again is our customer service center number, 800-400-7115, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5. You'll be happy to hear that we are a state agency where you don't wait for a long time when you call us. Most of the time you can get right through. Our wait times are very, very small. So feel free to take advantage of the customer service center whenever you need to. Next slide, and just wanted to say thanks again. Yes, there are some exemptions and relief available from the CDTFA. Hopefully you never have to use it. Nice to know that it's there if you do. Thanks very much for your time. Claire, back to you.
Thank you so much, Lance. I just learned 3 important new things myself from that presentation. Thank you so much. So we do have 2 additional speakers today, and we will move on to the Department of General Services. Matt Zweier is here. He is the Business Outreach Program Manager from the Office of Small Business and DVBE Services, which is in the Procurement Division for the Department of General Services. And he's going to talk about the Small Business Certification Program that allows businesses to take advantage of state procurement contracts, which are a significant opportunity for a lot of businesses that they have trouble reaching. So Matt, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Happy to be here. Thank you for the great introduction. So yes, I'm Matt Zweier. I'm with the California Department of General Services. I know you've been hearing from a lot of different people in state government. So I'm with the California Department of General Services. We do, among many things, procurement and contracting. We have oversight of procurement and contracting. So everything that I talk about is really within the scope and the framework of state contracts. So when I talk about business certification, it's not to be able to operate your business legally in California or anything like that. It's really all about pursuing those contract opportunities. Next slide, please. So the state has a goal to spend 25% of all contract dollars with California certified small businesses and 3% with California certified disabled veteran business enterprises. And I know it might not seem like a whole lot, but if you go to the next slide, you'll actually see how much money that is. So the last fiscal year that we have data for, which is 2021-2022, we spent $3.3 billion with California certified small businesses. And that's, again, just contract work. And we spent over $640 million with disabled veteran business enterprises. This is very important for you to know so you can speak to the real possibilities and opportunities that are in state contracting. There is a lot of money to be had, and it might be worthwhile for businesses to get involved. You'll also notice, you'll see over on the side where it says 1.3 billion in emergency contracts. We call out that number specifically because emergency contracting, one, it is a very large pot, $1.3 billion just in that fiscal year alone. And the state has been seeing a lot of emergencies these last many years. And it's one of the areas in which we're trying to get more small businesses involved. So we'll go to the next slide. And that really brings me to the SB/DVB emergency registry. So we wanted to, as an office, try and include more of these small businesses and these disabled veteran business enterprises in those emergency contract opportunities. Emergency purchasing is very different. It's actually very hard to get involved. And so we set up a special registry. It is separate from Cal eProcure. Hopefully you're a little bit familiar with Cal eProcure. It's the central website for state procurement and contracting. So this is a separate list. The registry is a list that only contains certified businesses, so it's not going to have other non-certified businesses like large companies. And this registry is special. It is used and only available to state buyers and it's designed for them to turn to it in an emergency so they can actually find certified businesses. So it's a very special thing. We've seen it working quite successfully. There are hundreds of businesses in the registry already. And a really important thing for you all to know about as you're talking to businesses about, you know, should they sign up in the registry? Should they not sign up in the registry? Is it a good idea? The businesses really need to be ready, willing, and able to do emergency work. We don't want it to be aspirational. So if they say, oh, well, maybe I could do emergency work, maybe that would be great. I've never done it before, but sure, why not? We might ask them to hold off on doing it, because what we don't want is a buyer, when an emergency is actually happening, a buyer comes to this registry, looks up businesses that claim they can help out with responses to floods and fires and pandemics, and it turns out those businesses actually can't do it. And then the buyer is spending time trying to sift through the companies that can actually help and separate out the businesses that can't really help. And if that happens, and if buyers are struggling to find businesses that can actually meet their need, they might not use this registry anymore. And they might say, you know what, it's an emergency, I don't have time, I'm just going to go to the large company that I know, and we'll just purchase from them. So we want to be really careful about that. And one of the ways we help businesses make sure that they are in fact a good fit is by having them select from a predetermined categories of goods and services. So they can't just say anything, they can't offer to sell anything, because in an emergency, we actually buy very specific things. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see a short list of those things that we purchase. This is not a complete list, this is just a short list of some of the things that are purchased during an emergency. Some of them are common things you might think of. Some of the things are to help respond to the emergency and stop it. Other things are to deal with the aftermath of the emergency. So for instance, debris removal, that's something that is done after the fire has been put out, right? And we need to do debris removal from an area. And there's more categories than listed here, even things like food. When people get evacuated because of a fire and there's tens of thousands of people, they do need to be fed. And soon, not, you know, in 3 days time, but in hours time. So again, a lot of opportunity there for emergency purchases, but let's go to the next slide. So if a business actually wants to sign up in the emergency registry, first, they will need to be a certified small business or DVBE in CaliProcure, and I will cover what those requirements are. They're going to need their certification number. They're going to need to know which of the emergency registry categories actually apply for their company. They'll want to be able to have a very short written description, couple sentences that describe the products and services they sell. And then, of course, they're going to need contact information. Where's their business located? Daytime contacts, as well as emergency contacts. So if there's a fire up in far northern California, knowing that a business is located in San Diego is important. It means they're not going to be able to respond in time. And, you know, phone calls may happen at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we need to be able to get through to someone. Some other couple things just to know is in terms of emergency contracting, work happens very fast. So a business may be asked to perform work and there isn't even a written or signed contract yet. And this is because things move so quickly. And the state is not, when a fire is raging or floods are coming, the state is not going to spend 2 weeks writing up a solicitation, putting it out to bid, collecting those responses, evaluating them, right? The state's not going to do that. The state is going to move quickly within hours to get the work done that needs to be done. So anyway, let's go to next slide. So I've mentioned small business certified and disabled veteran business enterprise certified. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we mean when we say that. And the way that DGS defines a small business for our certifications is different than how other offices in state government define small business. So you've been hearing from the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. They have a definition of small business for their programs and their purposes. And that's fine, nothing wrong with that. You'll find that in a bunch of different areas of California state government. There are actually different definitions of what a small business is, depending on the context. So ours is a certified small business when it comes to state contracting. So the basic eligibility are the ones you see here. Independently owned and operated, not dominant in the field of operation. It's a little strange, not very common. Needs to be located in California, and the owners also need to live in California. 100 or less employees, $16 million in gross annual receipts or less with affiliates. So this with affiliates is an important part. If one person owns 7 companies and is the sole owner of all 7 companies, those are all considered affiliates. So they can't have 7 companies that each make $12 million a year and they're all small business certified, right? That would be an issue. And then there's a special note here for manufacturers, 100 or fewer. Next slide, please. We do have a special small business certification called Small Business for the Purpose of Public Works. It is exclusive to the public works field. It's the exact same as the regular small business, but as you can see here, the employee cap is higher and the gross annual receipts cap is higher. 200 employees, $37 million in GARS cap. Next slide, please. So you might be wondering, should a business get both SB and SBPW? The answer is no, do not get both of them, just get one. They provide the exact same benefits, except the small business for purpose of public works is only for public works contracts. The small business certification is for everything, including public works. So if a business qualifies for the small business certification, we don't really want them applying for the SBPW. It's more work on their end, and it's a lot more work on our end, and it doesn't actually give the business any benefit. The only exception would be is if they're in the public works sector and they're very close to not qualifying for the small business certification. Maybe their employees are getting close, or their GARS is getting close, and they're about to move out of it. So those are the certifications for small business. Let's go to the next slide and we'll cover disabled veteran business enterprise real quick. So for DVBE, a disabled veteran is a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces that has a 10% service-connected disability or more. And a disabled veteran business enterprise is a business that is at least 51% owned by one or more disabled veterans. If it's a limited liability company, it has to be 100% owned. The owners that are the disabled veterans must live in California. The company must be managed and operated by disabled veterans, and the company itself must be located in the US. You'll notice there are no employee caps and no gross annual receipts cap. Employees can live anywhere, and the owners who are not disabled veterans can also live anywhere. Next slide, please. There's a handful of benefits to certification. So as a small business, you get a 5% bid preference. That's on doing calculations when bidding. You can get similarly a 5% incentive for DVBEs when bidding. You can also get access to exclusive contract opportunities. There's benefits regarding prompt payment, getting paid within 45 days. There's also working with other state entities that accept the state certifications that we call reciprocity partners, making it easier for those businesses to work with cities and counties. And then lastly, working with prime contractors. Primes get the benefits of your certifications. So those are the benefits of that. Next slide. All this happens on CaliProcure. You heard me mention this. This is the state website where they can get their company registered as a bidder. They can actually apply for certifications, and it's caliprocure.ca.gov. That is the central website. Next slide. I think that's it. All right. Thank you, everybody. As again, my name is Matt Zwire, and I know you are all, you are the ones that actually work with businesses to help them be successful in this. My office does that as well. We work with a lot of businesses, so we can also be a resource for you. If you want or need more information about state contracting, or you want to partner with us to do events, to connect with these business communities and these business owners, that is something that we can and often do with a lot of different organizations. So you've got my contact information, so feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, Matt. And again, I want to remind listeners that our network of small business centers is there to also help business owners navigate this process and beyond, to help them identify targets and opportunities within California government for contracts for their businesses. So that map that I put into the chat earlier will help you find all of our small business centers, including the Apex accelerators, which are there specifically to help with federal contract opportunities. But all the SBDCs and the other centers can also help with this process, as well as DGS. Thank you so much, Matt. So we have one more speaker, Saray Stevens from the Secretary of State's office, to talk about the BizFile process. She is our last speaker, certainly not least, because this process of getting your company correctly registered with the state of California is, of course, necessary in order to be able to take advantage of everything else that we have talked about today. So if we will have some time for some questions after Saray, if there are any. So please be prepared to line them up in the chat as she completes her presentation. Thank you. Take it away, Saray.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you, everyone that is on this call still, because I'm sure that you, like me, have gotten so many resources already. I have a list of things. I'm ready to start a business now. So this has been a really awesome presentation. So like Claire said, my name is Saray, and I am an assistant governmental program analyst for the Business Programs Division within the California Secretary of State's office. So the Business Programs Division, if you didn't know, is your first stop for creating a business entity within the state of California. And we also provide millions of resources to get businesses up and running and to maintain them. For perspective, we process nearly 2 million business filings every single year for corporations, LLCs, nonprofits, limited partnerships, and other business entities through our BizFile online portal. This portal is the most efficient place for submitting your initial filings and for any processing fees that might be associated with those filings, for filing your annual or biennial statement of information, registering and verifying trademarks, requesting certified copies of business entities, and so many more things. But I am on a time limit, and I would love to hear what questions are later. So I'll stop there for those different things that we offer. Though we don't offer any specific disaster assistant programs at the Secretary of State, we do have our online services that are specifically designated to provide the fastest turnaround time when businesses need to quickly manage their entities for whatever reason. And I'd like to extend gratitude to the California Office of the Small Business Advocate and the United States Economic Development Administration for asking us to present and educate everyone on this call about how we at the Secretary of State's office help California's business community flourish. I do have just 2 quick notes before we really get started with these next few slides that I do have. So first, in the fiscal year from 2022 to 2023, Governor Newsom did sign a year-long law that waived the processing fees for corporations, LLCs, and LPs for those initial filing fees. Now that we're in the 2023-2024 fiscal year, just wanted to note that that fee waiver has now ended. Also, I did mention that corporations, LLCs, you might hear me say those a few times, but sole proprietorships do not have to register with the California Secretary of State's office. We have 2 main websites that I'll be talking about today. One of them is at BizFile Online, and then the other one is bizfile.sos.ca.gov. And that website can tell you a little bit more about businesses that are not sole proprietorships and what is needed for them. Can everyone see the presentation? I saw that chat come through.
Saray, this is Claire. I can see your first slide. Do you intend to be on the first slide with the picture of the Sacramento Bridge?
Right now, yes, actually, and then now, if Cameron, if you could go to the next slide. Perfect. Okay. Can everyone see that? I saw someone in the chat. Claire, I saw someone in the chat had mentioned.
I did see that. I responded to that. I can see your slides, but again, for others who are having trouble locating the slides, use the view icon and choose focus on content, and that will bring the slides to the front. But the slides should be visible for most of our viewers, Saray, so keep going.
Okay, perfect. So overview. So today I'll be just giving a brief overview of the resources we offer to support businesses in California. We'll talk a little bit about search and registering trademarks. We'll talk about business search filings and orders, that BizFile online portal that I had mentioned. One of my personal favorites are Eureka chatbot and resources for new businesses. Next slide, please, Cameron. All right, so if you could just move your attention to the screen, there's a few different things on here that are really helpful. Because as you may already know, new businesses require a lot of steps that need to be completed, and some of these steps have to be completed one before the other. And so on both bizfile.sos.ca.gov under the business tab, where you see that web page that's in the middle of the screen, and on BizFile Online, you can find all of these steps and helpful checklists to ensure that you're on schedule to complete business filings in the most efficient way. So if you are working with other businesses, small businesses, I would highly recommend that you send them over to one of our resource pages that you see on here, especially that checklist, before they begin that process of paying processing fees and filing different documents, so that they're all aware of what the requirements are. So steps like just researching the current need for your business in the market is super important. And we don't want those types of things to be looked over and to have any hiccups later on. Next slide, please. Awesome. So this is my personal favorite, though everything is my favorite. Eureka chatbot. So speaking of doing one thing before the other, I'd like to introduce the Eureka chatbot. You'll see this friendly little bear in the right-hand corner of the screen whenever you visit one of our websites, and it is one of the most useful online functions that we have. Eureka is a Microsoft-based artificial intelligence, or an AI, and we have configured him to answer hundreds of frequently asked questions, and we do have a phone staff that is still available to you during our business hours. However, though our phone staff is knowledgeable, they're super nice, and they're very responsive, we really recommend that you start with Eureka for asking whatever questions that you planned on calling us with, solely because there are instant answers that you can get, and those instant answers can come to you 24/7 with direct links that will lead you right to wherever you're going. These are also available in English and Spanish currently, though we are working to diversify that and get more languages up and running within Eureka. And so you can see on that example screen how this user on the right side asked about filing a statement of information, which is that required annual or biennial filing that I did mention, and I will talk more about. Eureka not only provides that direct link to how to file that statement of information, but it also provides a step-by-step guide for that. So as you work with those businesses, I just really encourage you to stress that 24/7 availability of Eureka for those efficient answers and hundreds of questions that they might have. And that leads us into our online filing portal. So BizFile Online, which is different from bizfile.sos.ca.gov. And there's two big things about this that I'd like to dive into just before getting into the few bullet points that you'll see on the left hand of the screen. The first thing is the statement of information. So within the first 90 days of establishing a business within California, corporations, nonprofits, LLCs, they must file their statement of information with us at the California Secretary of State. Nonprofits and LLCs will continue to file those statement of informations on a biennial or every other year basis. And corporations must continue to file every single year. So your C Corps, your S Corps. If entities do not file those statements of information for whatever reason, whether that's within those first 90 days of establishing the business or on that annual or biennial schedule, that business will be suspended and they will lose access to their unique business name. So we really want to avoid that by staying on schedule, and please encourage your business owners to opt into our email reminders. They can find that within our online portal. So then you'll get an email that's letting you know when your statement of information is due. Also, we have, as you can see on the left side, 120 or more, but definitely more, forms that are available on our online portal. So it's like a huge library that's within reach for you 24/7. Unlike filing on paper, mailing it in, maybe using whiteout or not, hopefully we've got the paper and all those types of things that can happen when we use our wonderful mail service. Our online filings have a built-in system to validate and make sure that everything that you're entering is in the correct spot. And it also will just really increase your chances of your filings getting accepted, not rejected by our review staff. And there's some tips that are within those different filings online that can kind of help you in reference to like statutes and regulations if you, like myself, are not currently a lawyer. Filings are processed way quicker when we receive them online, and some filings are even processed immediately into our system. Given how important online security is today, we also do offer secure access to our online filings for your business entities to help prevent things like business identity theft, which I did not know was something that happens, but I have since learned that it does. Any maliciousness that could be going on, or even any accidental filings. And so this secure access allows only the business owner and anyone that the business owner has deemed responsible enough to submit online filings for that business. So no one can just kind of do things without your knowledge. We also provide the ability to order certified copies of filings or certificates, which you might need for securing business loans from financial institutions or even from some of our presenters that were talking earlier about securing funds and loans. When you order those certificates through our BizFile online portal, these are typically processed and made available to you within 1 to 2 minutes. So very fast, very efficient. Though our BizFile online portal, through our business online portal, BizFile online portal, there we go. We also provide items that could be useful to you even after you've created your business, such as links for partner agencies, licensing requirements, tax requirements, lots of fun stuff that you may need to just make sure that your business stays successful. Next slide, please. Perfect. So last but certainly not least, we have our business search portal. So here is where we can do anything from checking to see if a business entity name is available to viewing an entity's complete details and filing history, including your own business. You can also access free PDF copies of over 17 million imaged business entity documents. So being able to see a business status can be important. We can see on the right-hand screen different standings that are happening, addresses and things like that. So this is essentially like Facebook for businesses, but without, you know, the oversharing that may happen on my Facebook page. And so once you've created an account for your entity, you can also access the available online filings for your specific entity, including reserving an entity name or filing that statement of information annually or biannually. Last slide, please. Next and last slide. Perfect. So as you can see on the website that is scrolling on that laptop, The Business Programs Division can also offers additional ways to learn more about successfully establishing and maintaining your business entity. We have virtual events like our most recent webinar about how to file a statement of information. This is a common theme that I'm saying, the statement of information. So hopefully everyone has that ingrained. And we have an upcoming webinar next month about nonprofits. We have how-to videos on our YouTube page. We have an FAQ section, and you can see all of these other icons for those additional resources on that screen. And this is all located in this website that you're seeing is bizfile.sos.ca.gov. Last slide, please. Just kidding, this is the real last slide. So our mission at the Secretary of State is really to remove the obstacles to starting and maintaining businesses by providing modern and efficient resources. I thank you all on this call so much for your attention. And if you have any questions, please either contact us using the website or the phone number that are listed, or ask the Eureka chatbot for anything that you might need further. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Saray. Statement of informational, foundational to everything else. I want to thank our participants for their super helpful information that they have shared with us all today. It has truly been a marathon and an overview of basically everything a business needs to know to operate in California, both within a disaster scenario and without. And I do want to make room for any questions to be posted to the chat. We do have most of our speakers still available. So either we can discuss the questions now, or we can make sure that your questions get forwarded to the appropriate speaker. Going, gone. It is almost lunchtime, I understand. So again, a reminder that that all registrants for this webinar will receive the master deck, as well as a link to the YouTube, to a YouTube presentation or a YouTube recording of today's webinar. We did have over 200